Even rain on wet leaves can sound ominous after midnight. Firebird stopped walking and listened intently. The dark hours were slipping away, but she'd awakened with both calves bound up in excruciating muscle cramps. Pausing on her third lap around a long, windowless training room, she felt positive she'd heard something. Someone out in the passway. She would have known if it were Brennen. Barefoot, she crept across the cushioned mat. Once a storage area, this room bristled with weapons, simulators, and exercise equipment. A home security masterboard glimmered behind the flight simulator. She bent toward it. One of her unborn sons kicked her ribs in protest. Firebird straightened and pushed red-brown hair back from her face. She'd hoped to command a star cruiser someday. She'd never hoped to resemble one. Now, 6.5 months pregnant with twins, she suspected she did. She snuggled the belt of her flimsy nightrobe. On the security board, an image of their 2-story hillside home gleamed in pale yellow holo. Each entry and window shone red, fully covered by sensors and dispatch circuits. Brennen had invested his Federate severance pay in a lovely, defensible location near Therica's primary military base that installed the best available home sex system. In 10 years of intelligence work, he'd made enemies. The board showed no sign of intrusion. Firebird glanced over her shoulder. Blame pregnancy hormones? But she wasn't convinced. She despised this maternal jumpiness, this urge to protect herself at all costs. She'd been a military pilot, qualified on advanced fighter craft and small arms. Still, these days she must protect 2 other lives. She needed to be jumpy. Brennen had merely rolled over when she'd slipped painfully out of bed. She wondered if she ought to go back and wake him now. She'd done that 2 nights ago, when she thought she heard noises. They'd found nothing wrong. Deciding she didn't want her pride stung again, she opened a weapons cupboard. She bypassed several training knives, a broadsword, and 2 deadly service blazers. A bulky shock pistol, her weapon of choice, a gift from her husband, lay behind the blazers. Hefting it expertly, she thumbed a stud on one side of the grip and quickly checked its charge. Husband. Unbelievably, she had a husband. Last year, she'd forsaken her homeworld, with its holy laws and traditions that demanded her death, and married Field General Brennen Caldwell, an expert telepath and her enemy when they met. He won her trust and introduced her to faith, and Firebird had never dreamed of love like Brennen gave her, day after night after day. 8 months ago, they had pair-bonded in his people's way, linking their lives and their feelings in a marriage only death could end. She reached for the door control, then hesitated again. She really would rather Bren didn't find her prowling armed. If she stepped out into that passway, quivering with nerves, her worry would wake him. The Ayrton pair bond sensitized each of them to the other's strong emotions, even though she was no trained telepath. "Quiet my heart and mind, mighty singer, and help me," she prayed. Her determination, her jumpiness, and even her fond concern for her twins ebbed away. She touched the door control. The steel panel silently slid aside. She braced against it until her eyes adjusted. Across the passway, diffused city light filtered up Trin Hill into their 2nd bedroom. She peered out its glass steel window wall. Rain had softened into thick fog. 2 tiny red eyes shone out for a few seconds, then extinguished. Therica's planetary developers must have had quite a sense of humor to create those fist-sized, oozy night slugs.